here with another edition, our fifth edition of the Stay Home Live Virtual Poetry Reading Series. We have another great event for you. We have some great uh, poets and hip hop artists coming on here this evening. So it's going to be another great event. I'm very excited to have our featured artists here this evening. Um, but yeah, it's been a pretty hectic week. We've been kind of seeing a lot of things going on in the world. And this kind of this pandemic has really been getting to people. It's understandable that we are all kind of getting tired of all of this, and that's understandable. We're all human beings. We all kind of want to get back to our lives, but I think it's very important to understand that uh, this is still something that we still have to be very mindful about. In particular, our native communities that are out there struggling. We've been kind of following some of these things that have been going on. The state of South Dakota and all of that crazy stuff going on up there. The Navajo Nation, they're still hitting high numbers, and there's just a lot of things still happening that are very we need to take caution on. And here in Iowa, we are opening back up things, and it's kind of getting scary because the weather's getting nice here, and everybody wants to move around, and I think this is when the real test is, because we need to be stronger and be more strong-willed, because you know uh, it's kind of unpredictable what could really happen with this virus going around, because we don't know. There's no vaccines, there's no medicines, and the numbers are still going up. We're seeing all this information come out, and it's just kind of up to us to take it into our own hands, and not on a big scale, but like in small communities. Our small communities, we just got to do our parts and stay home. And that's kind of where this idea came from. For those of you who are just now tuning in, and this is your first um, time watching the series, that's what this is all about. It's about doing our part as young Indigenous people, as young Native people, to stay home and flatten that curve and do our part, like I said, in our small communities. Do what we can, especially us young people, because we are uh, so full of energy and all of this stuff that we want to get out and get back to our lives and be with our friends and all of that stuff. But you know we have to think more long term about our elders and our immunocompromised and our young children, because they are the ones who are going to suffer if they contract this virus. So we got to do our part. And some of the messages that I've been sharing throughout this series is that I challenge all the creatives and artists out there to use this time to create, to write poetry, to write your music, to create art, paint, sew, weave, all of those things. I got the garden going, today. So, doing all of these things and just kind of, I guess, slowing down in life. It's not wrong to just kind of take a moment. Think about it. It's only been a very small amount of time that we've been in quarantine. So, I think that if we just kind of slow down and, like I always say, look within ourselves, I think that, we can become better out of this situation, and we can, be all there all together when we come out of this. All of our family members, all of our relatives, come out of this together. So that's kind of why I really wanted to do this. And it's been really, awesome to have all of these great Indigenous Native artists be a part of this. I've had some really, really awesome people on here, and I'm very, very grateful for their time and coming on here and sharing their stories and their poems and all of that stuff, and their music, because that's what it's really about. And I've always felt that it's up to us as artists to kind of paint that picture for us of a better tomorrow. So I'm very excited to get this event going, because we got a lot of uh, throughout these 5 weeks, I've been kind of taking you on this journey through different tribal nations, through a lot of different people who do a lot of different things, and uh, it's been really cool to kind of have who we have on tonight, and kind of again give a different perspective and a different look at us as Indigenous people. So I'm very excited. I wrote some poems for this week. Again, like I said, I use this time to kind of create and just keep trying to sharpen my tools as an artist. So this first poem I wrote, I did it kind of thinking about what we are going through and kind of all of these things that we are being exposed to right now, because we are seeing a lot of these things happen throughout the country, injustices and all of these crazy things people are doing. I don't think I have to always talk about the killings that have been happening, and the things going on with the South Dakota tribes and the governor trying to threaten and impose her will upon them and force them to open their boundaries. There's a lot of things going on. Navajo Nation is still, still dealing with this in high numbers. And so they're getting some help, and that's really great to see. So, like I said, this poem was just kind of about some of those things that we're starting to see, these observations. And so I wrote this again this week. It's again, still trying to just work on all of these poems, but I wanted to share this because it's kind of just a look at, as like a young Native person, kind of what I'm seeing right now during this moment in our lives. This poem is titled "The Pandemic, the Great American Exposure." Like film from a camera, mixed and dipped and dunked in chemicals and equations, light and dark, movement and time, a concoction of chaos, a blendation of madness, when washed out with water and hung out to dry, and we are now finally getting a reveal, after all this time, to seeing what really lies beneath. Heck of a time to be alive, heck of a time to be Native, watching the system collapse and everyone scram to figure out how to save it. But one thing America is great at is band-aiding the problem, minimizing the situation, and trying to pretend that it didn't happen as bad as it really did, as bad as it really is, and how finally the curtain is being pulled back. The foundation is crumbling, and all that promise was really a con, revealed by the blindest of conmen, pretending to be from the noble, only exposed as trouble, inheriting everything, only to destroy all that was given. Heck of a time to be alive. The big reveal is happening before our eyes, as we all subscribe to the grand publication, all tuned in to see the empire falling. We are the volcano destroying the village, one disease versus another, and it's all being televised live and in color. Like the reality TV we love so much and adore and elect to govern and protect our shores. But of course, it comes at a heck of a time to be alive. When the system unravels and little by little, we all see the truth that it isn't about the common man or the earth or the future. It's always been about the raping and defamation, consumption, masked by words that really mean nothing, really a fence for all of us to live in and to bind us, control. We see how things are really run and who really runs things and how people have been right and how people have been telling us and how we have the numbers to do something and to tell someone and to change the course of history. Or would it be restore or repair or regenerate or repatriate, balance? We see how desperate times call for desperate measures and how desperately they cling to hold on to the lever, that idea of control and power equating to injustice and the mean scour from the lactation of scum in a robe and a funky wig and the eyes and tongue of a demon king, protecting his demons while we all watch on the virtual television. Heck of a time to be alive, to watch the exposure present a clear picture of the real pandemic. So that was just, just kind of what I'm seeing happen all across this country, just kind of all of these injustices and all of these things being revealed, coming up to the surface. And, I think coming out of all of these things that we can become a better civilization, a better society, if we just all kind of slow down and understand that we all need each other together, united, because this virus doesn't care who you are, if you're native, if you're indigenous, if you're rich, poor, whatever, it's here and we are all a part of that. So it's up to us to do our part and to take this situation in our hands, because we can't depend always on elected officials and all of those powers that be. It's up to us, people power. So I just wanted to share that poem because it's crazy time that we are in, and I hope that this event kind of provides some happiness and entertainment and insight on your Saturday evenings, because this is the time where we all feel like we need to be out doing stuff, and we really should be home enjoying this virtual stage. So real quick, I want to just share that we are still looking for artists out there to, if you want to be on our virtual stage here at the Indigenous Peoples Art Gallery and Cafe, to send your bio and your video of you performing a piece of your work, your poem or whatever, to Indigenous Peoples Art Gallery, Indigenous Art Alliance at gmail.com. And we will have our people look at it and get to you. The first 5 people selected will get a signed autograph book by Tanea Winder, who was a part of our event a couple weeks ago. So all you creatives out there, be sure to, get on, and we'll put you on stage and let you share your work and your story. Also, what else do we have? We have some things coming up. I can't think right now. But I think we're gonna get into our first reader for the night. I'm very privileged and honored to have him a part of our event. He's another writer from the Iowa Writers House, We the Interwoven series. For those of you who kind of know what I do and stuff, I do have a book published out called We the Interwoven through the Iowa Writers House. And, Chuy was a part of that. He came in and dropped some insight and knowledge on us to help us through that process and kind of shared his experience through that. So I'm very, very honored and privileged to welcome our first reader of the night, Chuy Renteria.
Thanks, Dawson. Thanks so much, man. It's a privilege. It's my privilege to be on and to be able to connect with you and the larger audience and kind of share what I got to say in the midst of kind of in the same veins, like the pieces that I worked on and massaged for this is kind of in the same vein where I'm talking about, you know, this situation and how we're all kind of it's all up in our faces, right? And a little bit of background on who I am. Like Dawson said, I was in the first We the Interwoven with Iowa Writers House. Shout out to Andrea Wilson. And I wrote some stories for that. I'm currently working on a book with the University of Iowa Press. The tentative title of that is We Heard It When We Were Young. And that's kind of all about my childhood and growing up here in Iowa. I'm the son of two Mexican immigrants. My mom and dad are both from different parts of northern Mexico, and they met in Iowa. And they met in Muscatine, Iowa, and grew up in West Liberty, Iowa. And whenever I talk about myself, I always talk about West Liberty because West Liberty it was the first majority Hispanic, majority non-white town in Iowa. Really big Mexican, Puerto Rican, South American immigrant population, a lot of Laotian and Vietnamese refugees that came in the 70s. So it's just kind of a really interesting town that a lot of people don't think of when they think of Iowa, and a town that's really hurting right now because there's an outbreak, like there's an outbreak in all these other meat processing plants, like in Columbus Junction. Now in West Liberty, they just said they did testing and there's like 120 folks that got the COVID-19, which is about like 13% of their factory. And my dad works there. So Dawson and I were talking about this right before we went live about how we all are all feeling this in certain ways. And, you know, it is kind of crazy that, you know, Indigenous people, people of color, immigrant people, like Black people, like we are getting, it's so out of whack. You know, it's like Mexicans account for 20% of COVID-19 cases in the state of Iowa, and we're 6% of the population. So, I mean, there's something, it's kind of just bubbling up to the surface, all these kind of, you know, injustices in terms of like economy and who's the one that's going to be doing stuff. So that's all to say that I have some stuff to say about it. So I'm going to read this piece. Actually, what happened is when Dawson invited me to do this, I have just journals that I've been writing on since I was in high school, since I was 17, 18. And I looked at some of those past ones, and I actually took an old poem that I wrote and I kind of reshaped it and I added to it. So it's almost half old, half new. And there was a line in it talking about how, I think it's the next one, but it's talking about this plague that we don't know the name of. And I'm just like, oh, that sounds like right now. So this first one's called What I Wish to See in the World When This Is All Over. Oh. What I wish to see in the world when this is all over. High school kids locked in distasteful PDA on the bus stop, dancing in angles, dancing in formations, dancing in sloppy outside the lines exuberance. Love like I loved Llewellyn in the summer, as unquantifiable thesis, traced between his shoulder blades. Guess what I wrote? No, but really guess. I'll make it cursive so you can feel the weight of it all, crossed out on a crumpled up notebook paper that we're allowed to pass around between ourselves to read and crumple again and read and crumple again. Borderline lewd behavior by middle-aged couples in the park, dads to hold their sons on futons and remind them that they can still be kids, that none of us knew that we would lose this time together, so we sit across from each other so our knees touch, and neither of us want to be the first that moves. Old deaf ladies dancing with queer roommates through the windows across the street, toddlers stealing the spotlight, big, stupid, ugly sounding guffaws, really nasty, high-pitched yips and laughs like mine, raised eyebrow laughs in return, with my big book of stupid jokes returned to me from third grade, which I kept on looking for in my attic. For every sentence, art in shapes and colors in opera houses, each with blue squiggles beneath it, and every artist to not care. My family on their deck, my dad cooking the ever-loving shit out of his burgers, burnt black Mexican burgers. We are whole and not ravaged by factory bottom lines like so many news stories. Eccentric septuagenarians to sustain public access TV, and for the meanings of words to change, like the world change, like how we change. To begin again, to light kerosene lamps that look like tulip flowers and hang clothes outside so that they smell like a star millions of miles away. To tell stories so close you can feel the warmth of their breath, and already fret that it will be over while it's still going on. So that's the first one I wrote, what I wish to see in the world when this is all over. And I was focusing on right, the positive, right? Like, how is the world going to change? How are we going to kind of maintain our humanity in this? Because I think that's something that's really coming through to a lot of people, that like, what are we doing now that we're sequestered in our homes? We're ingesting art, we're ingesting, visual art, whether it be through like, shows, music, reading, like artists. And so we kind of feel that, that need to connect. And I think when this is all over, however long it takes, we're all going to be connected in a way that we never had before, right? Like, we're going to be socially wanting to be knee to knee, right? And so I was kind of trying to look at it as a positive way, and this next one is definitely like the flip side of it, right? Because there's also like, there's this injustice going on that you have to look at. So and this is the one where I read my old journals and I saw that line about a plague that we don't know, and I'm like, that's right now. So this is called "You Can No Longer Say We Have the Benefit of 2020 Vision." Let me get some water real quick. Another thing I should say too is before I forget, I'm also a b-boy. I've been dancing for 20 years now. Part of the really foundational hip hop scene here in Iowa. I started in late '99 and got with a lot of DJs, MCs, breakers in Iowa. And like everything else in Iowa, it kind of ebbs and flows, especially with the university. So like, the scene's a lot smaller than when I started. But I should say that I teach at a hip hop studio. My friend Joel Sorensen started a studio called All the Way Up Studio. And we've been going on for 2 years. And right now we're doing all of our instruction virtually online. So we have Zoom classes. We've been doing it for about 3 weeks now, where people will, like, just like this, they log in and we teach them. And I teach breaking, like the fundamentals of breaking. So if you've never breaked before, you can go and try it out. We have popping, we have like hip hop choreo. But yeah, it's really fun. I think we just got a Chicago footwork cat that's going to teach some footwork. But Joel was talking about how, you don't think about how this is like trickling down and hitting every little thing, but it's like dance studios are getting hit really hard right now. And he put it upon himself to want to give back to the community with the studio. And now, like everything else, like the economy is hard, it's hard times. So if you have, some time, like we all have time, and you got some extra cash, you can, take a class, you can try it out. Like, I think it's like $30 to try for 2 weeks, and you can try whatever class you want. So check out, you can Facebook All the Way Up Studio, Instagram, check it all out. And we got that. So quick little plug. But yeah, so once again, this one's called You Can No Longer Say We Have the Benefit of 2020 Vision. You can no longer say we have the benefit of 2020 vision, because this world is tilt shifted and we are figures in 3/4 perspective. I am not yet victimized, but more and more kids on the news look like the Facebook photos of my cousins and my family and my tagged friends. The deceased walls become virtual shrines for drunk lovers to comment on when it shows up on their memories. You don't know whether to like it or to give it a little hug emoji to properly display your empathy. We need an almighty force to read us our reassurances from future bouts of a plague not yet confirmed. But they look upon as creator of our wishes, one-dimensioned, bounced off the pigment of pale white skin reflected on the real and registered as an unburdened life. They live in protected houses in untriggered towns. They take their guns onto concrete steps to protest an entity that no bullets can reach. We cater to you. Your hands dangle as we push to get your cuticles back. God's bird's eye view sees contours of shapes, as circles is to the tops of hills, summits spherical tongued across our plains. Depth is lost, but that shows the importance of inches through space. Your protest signs are flipbook pages. Gil Scott Heron was wrong. It will be live streamed and live leaked and world starred. A gaggle of kids will crowd around and yell at you to fucking fight as Elon Musk and Joe Rogan tell America to jumpstart the economy, or the cure will be worse than the cause. We are but specks from your vantage point. Swoop down and fill in the blanks. That is all we ask of you. Tie the noose on the pulley as though low tech can still move units. Kickstarter and GoFundMe a way out of this. How can we not need this? How do we not deserve this? To be a dancer can ravage your ears. And parchment on a constitution out in the sun deteriorates until it's cracked and faded and all run together. How long will this experiment tick? Until trembling hands can no longer do regular maintenance to make up for the fact that 2020 is counted in decimals and pi is too wide a concept for you to wrap your head around. You can no longer say we have the benefit of 2020 vision. So yeah, that's the other side of it. Yeah, man, things are happening, right? Like, with my family, it was like heartbreaking, this idea of, and I think a lot of people talk about it, it's like a slow moving car wreck, right? Like you feel so powerless because you can't do anything about it. And there was a Facebook thread that I saw where it was like talking about the numbers in West Liberty of this factory that's starting to get all this outbreak and from my hometown. And I see all these posts and comments from people that I grew up with that are in the exact same situation that I am, where it's like we're the son of our immigrant parents, that their identity is so intertwined with working, right? Like they got sold the American dream, like come to the middle of the Midwest and you can work and you can provide for your family that you couldn't where you're from. And now that almost like that identity and that like being intertwined with that was working against us. So I saw a Facebook thread where it was all these children of immigrants begging their parents not to go back to work. And it was heartbreaking because I was in that exact situation. Like, and I think it's just, you just have to like hope and pray and do your best to talk to people, but also like know that people are going to make their own decisions. So I have one more piece, if it's cool to do one more. Yeah, cool. This is actually a little bit different. So this is actually a piece of a little snippet of the book that I'm working on right now. We heard it when we were young, so it's not poetry, it's a little bit of long form fiction, but I'll just read a snippet of it. But this is about my relationship with my father and about kind of some of those things that happen. The backstory of this is my dad had a lowrider that he worked on before I was born. It was a 52 Chevy Fleetline lowrider. And by the time I was a kid, it was all rusted in my driveway. And I think he always wanted to work on that lowrider with my older brother, and then eventually with me, but we never did it. And I've always kind of felt like that was like this kind of symbol of the generations, like my dad and my brother and me kind of like pulling apart. And this idea of like, we can't connect like the way that a lot of other people can connect, like in a family. So there was one time where he asked me if I wanted to play some basketball with him. And I said no, because I want to be with my friends. And I remember seeing him affected by that. And my mom, who's like, you know, she's not afraid to like, you know, she's a Mexican mom, right? So she's not afraid to like really take it there. And she's like, you're going to feel so shitty about that in the future. Like one day he's going to be dead and you're going to regret that, as a Mexican mom would say. And she was right. She's true. I mean, right now, I mean, he's obviously still alive, but it's this idea of like, now I'm like, I want this whole situation to be over so I can see my dad and my mom and embrace them like I should have when I was, 9 years old. So there's a little snippet of that. When I was 9 years old, my dad asked me if I wanted to play games with him. I said no to go and play with my friends, and I'll never forget the look on my dad's face of him looking dejected in his brown Louis Rich button up by his 52 Chevy Fleetline lowrider. The problem with looking back on situations like this is I can't rewrite history. I have to live with and account for the things that I did as a kid, for the way I regarded this man, my dad. Here's the truth a lot of first generation kids grew up with. They assume they're smarter than their parents. It stems from language barriers, communication issues from parent to child. It's in the same Venn diagram of horribleness that could occur when someone in the wild talks to our parents. I recall people getting annoyed at my mom and dad, raising their voices as if they were talking to children. It was grocery store clerks or teachers, coworkers, and bank associates. We internalized that young, saw how people treated our parents like they were beneath them. I'm not proud to say as a little kid that it rubbed off on me. Think of it this way. My dad and I couldn't communicate with one another. Every time we did, it was this stuttering, jagged mash of words. I never got to hear my dad wax poetic about his favorite band or have a nuanced discussion with his friends about politics. Mind you, these conversations did happen. My dad's shy, but when he's around people he knows and talking in the language that he first learned, he can get downright loquacious. But when I was a kid and I was in the vicinity of these conversations, I couldn't understand them. I couldn't understand Spanish. These words were noise. They were Charlie Brown adult vocalizations, wah-wahs with rolled R's. Here's another phenomenon that happens with boys and their fathers. Ask any boy how it felt the first time they realized their dad wasn't the end-all be-all. When they became strong teenagers who could beat their aging fathers in sports and physical competition, it feels terrible. It's this business of facing your own mortality in the face of the man that raised you. My dad's stilted English triggered this response in me. I learned to read and write young, and I always like words, English words. Reading and communicating in English was me slam dunking on my dad as a kid. There's something else that happened before this time with my dad in the driveway. My friends and I were playing with a baseball in my dad's garage. Somebody whiffed the catch and the ball went through a garage window with a crash. My dad asked me about it. I remembered something that I learned from Bill Nye, the Science Guy, or Beekman's World or something, one of those educational children's shows based on science. Something about atmospheric pressure and how it shifts, it can cause a glass to break. I straight up lied to my dad and used this atmospheric pressure gambit. He nodded his head and he said, okay. And he set off to fix the window. Looking back at it now, it's obvious that my dad either knew that I did it and wanted to let me slide or that he didn't care. I mean, he could fix the window, no problem anyway. When I was a kid, I ran off elated, happy that I'd gotten off. But after I sat down, something terrible washed over. My internalizations at the way all these people treated my dad manifested. I felt bad that my dad was dumb enough to fall for it. These undercurrents were flowing through 9-year-old me. They were there when I saw my dad that day. As messed up as it is to say, that day I felt sorry for my dad. Looking back at it, I see how misguided that sentiment is. We all have to remember how gifted people who communicate in a second language are. Even if they're mechanics and housekeepers, for real, I'm in awe of it. I'd say my dad has pretty good English. He still talks with a lilt and in short bursts, but it's so much better than what I can do in Spanish. But I can't change the perception I had as a kid. I can't change how I thought about my dad growing up. And I can't change that I didn't jump at the chance to respect his place in the world, to fix up that lowrider with him, to play basketball with him that day. All I can do is make it right now, to tell this story to whoever cares to listen, and to be honest with the past so that others don't repeat it. And so, yeah, that's a snippet of the first story from my upcoming book. I'm working with the University of Iowa Press. Tentative title, we heard it when we were young. So yeah, it's all about growing up in West Liberty. So there's a lot of different meanings with that. But yeah, that's my third story. So Thank you so much, and thank you again to Dawson for letting me do that, to share. I'm once again, I'm honored to, and I feel privileged to be able to share this. So yeah, give it back to you.
All right. All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a virtual round of applause for Chuy. That was pretty dope, man. Yeah, just really, really, a crazy time, for all of us. We are all kind of in this together, so to speak. Um, so it's you know, up to us to just really pull through, like like we say, take it upon ourselves to do what's right. So there's just been really a lot of crazy things going on. One of the uh, uh, one of the things, like, hot topics, I guess, this week was there was apparently a influencer, Instagram influencer or something, I don't know, who had made some comments about the missing and murdered Indigenous women thing that's going on in the country, the awareness that we as Native people are doing to try to get some spotlight put on this situation that we're dealing with. And this young lady apparently made some very bad remarks about the situation, and a lot of people jumped on uh, and jumped on her Instagram live. A lot of Native women, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I used to work in that area and in that field, and it's something that I still kind of try to do to promote that message and that awareness about one of our own here, Rita Papaki, who's been missing for several years. And this situation is really it hits home, and it really yeah, it really needs to be talked about on a bigger scale, which I think this kind of a little bit helped with that. But it's still up to us as Native people to talk about it. But this poem that I wanted to read, it reminded me of that, and some of this crazy stuff that we are seeing come out of this pandemic experience that we are going through. So this poem, real quick, before we get into our next performer, it's called "By Oh Delicate Hands I Was Woven of an Old Meskwaki Woman." My story's woven, stitched and sewn by the pieces that life throws, sewn by the delicate hands of an old Meskwaki woman, their daughters, their daughters, their daughters. Did you know some daughters disappear like unicorns in the fog? Poof, into thin air. Some daughters go unseen after leaving a casino security screen, vanished as fast as a C note. The plan was to keep every man intoxicated and then feel abandoned and then beat down and then left with that to carry down to the next little brown Native boy and the next Native boy and the next Native boy. We are the only people that have to prove who we are with a tribal ID card. And sometimes it's hard because we're told it's not valid. So we can't do things like vote or to enter certain establishments. Tonight, I didn't come here to invoke fear. And let me be clear, I did not come to invoke fear. Shit, I don't even eat pork. I don't drink beer. I don't consume dairy. And I know it may seem scary, but I pray daily. I blow one or two, and this may sound scary, but I meditate too. I lived this way for many years. And as I end, remember, by old delicate hands I was woven of an old Meskwaki woman. So again, that was just kind of, with everything that's been going on from our last Saturday to this Saturday in that short week, a lot of, things been going on. in Native America, in Native country. And that's what really something I wanted to talk about, because it was, man, it's just, we're just being exposed to a lot of what we knew was happening. And it's up to us. Like I always want to bring that message home. It's up to us to make a better tomorrow. So I'm gonna get into our next guest. I'm very, very excited to have him on here. I met OLMECA in Iowa City at the Immigration Work Center. He performed there, and ever since, yeah, I've been a fan. He's a hip hop artist. He's an activist, scholar. He does a lot of different things, but I'm very, very blessed, very, very grateful to have him, that he wanted to be a part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you OLMECA.
What's up, brother? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, word, man. Yeah, well, thank you, Dawson, for having me, man. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. I heard Chuy's. I heard your poetry right beforehand. I thought it was dope, man. It's really powerful. Like, the stories are real. They're real. So it's some people might call them, like, it's too heavy or something like that. I actually heard somebody make a comment like yesterday about how we got to stay positive, and keep everything positive. And I'm on some, like, look, man, I don't operate on positivity and negativity. I operate on honesty. And so whatever, what I'm saying? Like, if things are fucked up, things are fucked up, and we got to be able to call them. If things are good, then they're good. If there's a story in the middle of things being fucked up, that's good. And we decided to tell that story, that's what we tell. But it's like, to choose to always stay positive, to me, means to basically not acknowledge and almost lie about what really is going on and shit. So, that's what it is. So thank you both for that. And thank you for your poetry as well, Dawson. Yeah, man. So let me know what you want me to do. We could talk music, we can talk politics, I can share a couple of some of the new songs that I'm working on right now, like the beats, the production, whatever, man. Whatever you want me to do, let me know. You want me to do that? All right, cool. All right, so I got this one track that I'm putting out soon. It's called "The Dead Are Walking," and I'm really happy to show this song because Michael Rappaport, the the actor, the cat is like, he's from New York and he's a hip hop head. And I saw a video of him and he was talking about how he's like, where's the hip hop heads at? Where the real hip hop at? Because no one's talking about what's really going on. That's what hip hop is for. That's the platform. Like, we should be speaking the truth. And he was referring to, like, no one talking about, COVID-19 and how the administration is either not responding or not responding as part of the plot, or whatever. So I'm always trying to be in the know as far as that. So I just put some lyrics together in the beat, man, and it's urgent. It's an urgent song. So if you're trying to have a good time right now, this is probably not the song. But if you want to get lit and angry, this is probably the song for you right now. All right, so let's hope that let's make sure the music is good. Y'all hear that?
The dead are walking and I know why. The dead are walking and I know why. They followed orders, they went outside, said it was safe, it was a lie. Everybody get inside, they don't really care who dies. Refuse the truth, follow the leader who lied. Is everybody biting the fruit? Yeah. Hero here, it's all of us, so it's none. I'ma be here when it's done. They see you fighting for fun, run for the gun. Get 'em. Let me talk to the sun. All your warnings were shunned. Don't give them shit. All of your progress undone. Look at 'em fighting for fun, running for gun. The dead are walking and I know why. They got a different virus. They wanna feel alive, so they believe the lie. Death and profit, no one can stop it. Interchangeable market. The product of death has started, hitting their target. Profits will rocket. Profit and death, death and the profit. That means the more death, the more in their pocket. Virus will hit the most vulnerable. Been trying to kill us, so why would they stop it? This is sirens. This method is older than pirates. All of our silence. Powerful weapon is virus. They seek a profit. We see their profit. They give a tricks. Check the deposit for the vaccine. They're saying wash it. I'm saying walk through. No time to sleep. Some will deny. Some don't believe. Y'all got the urge. Cannot resist. Yeah, immunity doesn't apply. Many no choice. Many can't see. The dead are walking and I know why.
Word. So that's that track. And let's see. And I'll read the lyrics so you can kind of, because I'm sure that you can understand every single one. But it says the dead are walking and I know why. They followed orders. They went outside, said it was safe. It was a lie. Then I say, everybody get inside. They don't really care who dies. Refuse the truth. Followed the leader who lied. Is everybody biting the fruit? Woo! Ain't no hero here. It's all of us or it's none. I'ma be here when it's done. They see you fighting for fun. Run for the gun. Let me talk to the sun. All your warnings were shunned. Don't give them shit. All of your progress undone. Look at them fighting for fun. Running for guns. And then the hook goes, the dead are walking and I know why. They caught a different virus. They want to feel alive, so they believe a lie. It's all of us or it's none. Death and profit. No one can stop it. Interchangeable market. The product of death has started. Hitting their target, profits will rocket. Profit and death, death and their profit. That means the more death, the more in their pocket. A virus will hit the most vulnerable. Been trying to kill us, so why would they stop it? Listen, sirens. This method is older than pirates. They're hoping for all of our silence. Powerful weapon is virus. They seek a profit. We see their profit. They give with tricks. Check the deposit. Fund the vaccine. They're saying wash it. I'm saying watch them. No time to sleep. Some will deny. Some don't believe. Y'all got the urge. Cannot resist. Yeah, immunity doesn't apply. Many no choice. Many can't see. But the dead are walking, and I know why. That's that one. Yeah. So I'm sure some people are not gonna appreciate that song. But yeah, if I was here to please everybody, I wouldn't be here. That can't exist. And so I guess to me what that means really is like you gotta choose who you want to speak to, or you gotta choose who you want to have a conversation with, or you want to choose who you're gonna walk with, and then who you are in your music then should reflect that. I don't believe that you should try to appease everybody. That's, to me, it's not only weird, but it's unattainable. We could be like Drake. We could be like Drake or Bad Bunny, and talk about love and how many breakups and parties, things that everybody can relate to. But like Nina Simone said, man, artists have to reflect their times. And what is the definition of an artist if not that? That's what she said, and I thought it's amazing. It's beautiful to me. All right, so look for that one. The dead are walking. And then what I'm gonna do for my songs, because I don't know if your audience is familiar with my music, but my stuff is bilingual. Like one song can have both languages. But what I decided to do for this next album basically is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the same tracks. I'm gonna keep the same concept of the song. I'm gonna keep the same, even like rhythmic patterns in the words, but it's one song's gonna be in English and the other one in Spanish, but it's gonna be the same song, feel me? But just different languages. And then that's so I can speak to the people who I want to speak to. One thing I've noticed is like when I have bilingual music or when I have music in Spanish, like some of my compas or my comrades will say like, oh man, I appreciate that you do that. But they're also like in there are saying like, I can't listen to it because I don't understand what you're saying. But I appreciate the fact that you do that. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like Northern Native folks in the US, they might appreciate what I'm doing with the language, but they ultimately don't understand what I'm saying for the most part. And then vice versa. If I do something in English, the immigrant rights community is like, oh man, that's dope that you do that. And you trade the languages back and forth. But ultimately they don't fully understand what the song is saying. You know, they're not going to be able to take that to their tia and have them listen to the song, you know? So what I figured I'd do was, you know, spend more time on my art and just translate it. And so that way you have a version for your tia, and then you have a version for your elder, you know, in Pueblo country, in New Mexico, you know what I'm saying? And it would be the same song from the same artist with the same concept. Nothing's gonna get lost. It's a task, man. Translating or interpreting is one thing, but then interpreting poetry is another. From one language to another is very different. And then adding rhythm to that in terms of pattern, man, it's no joke, man. All right, let's see. What else, Davenport? You want me to do another song or another poetry beats? What do you want? Beats? All right, let's do some beats. I like that. Y'all hear it? Yeah. That one for now is just called Medicine. Let's see, this one right here. Lola, Lola. I'm a common soldier refuting the sinister sins. I'm in nowhere where people rebelling by any means. I'm a cause of confusion because of the way that I think. I'm a hard case to follow if you follow what I did. I'm following the orders. I'm only pretending to be so that it makes it easier for me to enter. You don't follow my own ideology and those connected to it, doing it to 2020. Best believe I'm independent and ready for anything, many things, many eyes and ears. And as far as I can see, I'm regulating the masses as an X on a red cloud line. I jaguar, I'm being proud. I'm a revolutionary, internally human being. I'm a lost child born in the wild for 100 years. I'm the culmination of so many shed red tears. I'm the problem to the establishment and their scheme. Come on. Hey. Dispersed against nemesis, energy through clenched fist and fight first with warrior instinct and instinct, exhilarating sense of ability to connect with principles of self-sufficiency. I come as a servant, heaven's insurrection, injecting the vibrant, wicked intention, hollow back with the now when I say revolution, revolution now, yeah, hollow words seeking utter repentance, attention, the problem that the president faces, contendence is greater than the leader's commencement, intention from the people is independence, people enslaved in a barricaded city, estrayed, forsaken, and held by devil supremacy. Centuries of comatose outlook, insecurity, leading to timidity and finally slavery. Desde el 510, pueblo le entra el golpe bien contra la basura del presidente inconsecuente. Viene la gente después con una gran inquietez, derrotando al hombre juez, vida justa otra vez. Yeah. Word up. All right, let's see. I got this album right now. It's called Define, which basically talks about everything that we just, talked about, right? How do you define a group of people, especially for, the term right now is Latinx. Tomorrow it could be some other fucking, name and shit. But one thing that we understand about the quote unquote Latinx community, as it's referred to today, is that we are descendants of a land that was colonized, call it Latin America or call it Abya Yala, but we share a struggle of resistance from the border south, right? And actually not even the border south, just this land. And so that to me is like, that to me is everything. To me, it's the meaning behind the connection that some of us have with the Native community in the US. While some people might see me as Mexican, as Chicano, as son of undocumented people, other identities have been stripped, mainly my indigeneity. And though I practice my culture, I practice my traditions, and it's safeguarded in our community and in my family more than anything, in Mexico and here in the US. When I step out of my house, I'm not Tepehuane native from the northern parts of Mexico. I'm not Tepehuane. I am, Mexican or whatever other tags, Latino even. And I don't shy away from those identities. I'm okay with them. It's like, that's fine. Being Chicano does not negate my indigeneity. Being Latinx even doesn't negate my indigeneity. Some people will say that they contradict each other. The way I understand it and the way that I see it and the way that I tell people about it is that while Latinx might refer to my connection geographically to other people, my indigeneity connects me ethnically and culturally to people from all over the land. And so it's two different things, one doesn't negate the other. So I've been talking to people about that and arguing with a lot of folks, especially older Native folks from both like the Chicana community and Northern Native folks. Because they're saying like, OLMECA, why you say you're Latino if you're Native? Like if you're Native, you should just say that you're Native. And I tell them like, I do say that I'm Native, but I also don't negate when other people want to connect with me and they call themselves Latino and they call me Latino. I don't negate that because I understand that they also have like a history of, maybe they're not as privileged as I am to be able to understand their Native culture, but I see them not as like oppressors. I see them as part of a process of colonization, and those are the people that I should be walking with. You feel me? So I'm not gonna negate and not walk with people because I'm somehow like more privileged to know my identity as far as my indigenous roots and ancestry and traditions. We shouldn't do that. We should be calling people in, not excluding people out. And like I said, shit, tomorrow we might stop saying Latinx and we might start saying like, Abya Yala, or like, you feel me? Or like Nate or something. You know, I'm like, cool, let's bring it. You know, it's whatever. Let's see, man. Let's see. Do I have time for another one, or are we good? One more. All right. Let's see. All right. This song right here is called "The Message." That one just came out recently. There's a video out for it, so you know, hopefully people can go and tune in. You get it? We're from here and we're from there. It's like, somos de aquí, somos de allá. Tengo sabor, yo lo sé. Tiene todo mi sabor. Telling me I don't belong. With your fingers tell them they wrong. My people maintaining their presence, changing it all. Todo queda claro. And then we all fall in love with the cause. That's what I do when I'm climbing the walls. I'm going to break and penetrate this. People are people, not freedom for all. Maintaining the essence. What you mean? Ni de aquí ni de allá. Keep it 200 y déjalo ya. Somos de aquí, somos de allá. Somos salvavidas para la economía, mínimo ni vivir, somos como una dinastía. Para decirle mamá, dile lo que decía que esta economía, decirle ya no existiría. Porque desde de máquina, like everybody, when I really see your people body, rather be connected to know that I belong to really, yeah, my people, because they live in a legacy. How much power we got? Song is all done. Better than one. Already won. Time to get up, que falta todavía. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. Thank you for allowing me the space to share and to go on my rants. Much love to you, bro. And you know, thank you for that space. Thank you, Chuy, for your poetry as well. Let's just keep it moving, man. Ain't nothing else to do it but to do it. You know, it's like I ain't following no positive, no negative. It's like this is what it is, bro. And take it however you want. You know what I mean? Let's just keep it moving, man. Thank you all so much. It's a blessing to share space with y'all. Thank you.
All right, what do y'all say? Let's get another virtual round of applause for OLMECA. Wow, yeah, that was real dope. I'm very, yeah, I'm happy now. I'm good. I hope y'all are too. Yeah, that was like I said, man, very blessed and honored and grateful to have him spend his evening with us. You know, he could have been doing other things, but he came in and blessed us all with his music. So check him out, OLMECA. He's got a lot of stuff. I think I posted some of his website on my Facebook page. So check it out. Check out his music videos. He's always putting out work. So check him out. So yeah, it's been a really great event this Saturday night. I hope that you all are, just taking it easy, slowing down and just trying to, you know, get through this. Like I said, man, coming out of this with all of us together, all of our families, all of our relatives, our children and our elders, our cuckoos and meshus, everybody, man, because it's uncertain what's out there and when this is all going to be done. So until then, I'm going to keep providing this entertainment and keep bringing you our stories as Indigenous people. And I'm very grateful for everybody who's been a part of this, who continues to support Indigenous arts and Indigenous artists. And I hope that you all are still being entertained by this event, because it's my joy and my pleasure to bring these people to this space to share our stories and our art with you. So I just want to thank everybody who's ever been a part of this for your contributions, and OLMECA for blessing us again with on our virtual stage here. So, and it's been really great. Got another great show for you next week, so tune in. I'll be posting that shortly. I also have some art I'm gonna drop on you guys all here, like I always say, but just hard to stay on top of all my projects here. But it's been really great this week. I'm very excited to let you all know who we got next week. So tune in for that. Share with your friends and family and all of your relatives. Continue to stay home. Continue to watch out for each other and take care of each other. Again, we still have that call out for artists and poets out there, spoken word poets. You got music. Be sure to send your bio and a video to indigenousartalliance@gmail.com, and we'll hopefully get you on. Tanea Winder is giving out a signed book of hers for the first 5 people selected. So, that's pretty dope. So shout out to Tanea Winder for that. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in for this event tonight. It's been really dope. Thank you, Chuy. Thank you, OLMECA. I want to thank the Midwest Writing Center for partnering with us again, Sarah, and everybody else who is a part of this event. Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. Have a great night.